Welcome on today's conversation on the future of work, where AI isn't just a buzzword, but a business driver. This is Lenovo Work Reborn, live in Orlando. Hey, Shaun, welcome to the Work Reborn podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for popping by our podcast booth today to talk a little bit about your background and, what you think the future of work will be. But before we get into that, why don't you share a little bit about who you are and what you do? I hear that you're doing some amazing work in Alaska with indigenous tribes.
Yeah, my name's Shaun Stark. I work for the Aleut Corporation. We are an Alaskan Native corporation set in place by the federal government a little over 50 years ago, and I'm the IT manager.
I mean, that's so exceptional. Have you always lived in Alaska? How did you get into this work? Yeah.
I was born and raised in Alaska. I've done a lot of traveling, but it's home. It offers all of the amenities and lifestyle that I really enjoy. Yes, and my family has been part of this Native corporation. My grandfather was one of the original shareholders, and I inherited my shares from him when he passed.
That's so amazing. And so, getting your start into the working world, like, is tech the way that you want it to go, or did you kind of find a roundabout way to do that? Because it's just a very fascinating organization to me.
So I actually originally started out in the trades, heating, plumbing, and electrical.
Okay.
I realized it wasn't quite the path that I wanted to go. I've always had a passion for technology. I've always really loved technology. And so I started working my way into the IT side of things, and I've gotten myself to the manager position.
So, we've done a study lately. We interviewed over 600 senior IT leaders, like I mentioned before, about things that are mattering most in the market right now. A few topics came up of interest to our leaders: sustainability, AI readiness, employee experience, cybersecurity. But I thought, just due to the experience that you have, that we talk a little bit about sustainability, because it is an important topic to discuss when we are looking to improve and thinking about bringing new life to the modern workplace. And, we in our report mentioned some, you know, importance to e-waste. It's a new way to kind of talk about, the digital aspect of that, right? So how do you think about e-waste reduction in your IT strategy? Is it primarily a compliance issue, or is it also maybe a way that you could showcase ESG leadership and create value in the market? Talk to me about if you've ever thought about e-waste and what it looks like for you.
For us, due to Alaska's location and the fact that we're landlocked by Canada, and the fact that we have tremendous amount of natural resources around us, e-waste is actually a very big concern of ours. We're, we're dealing with generational lands and generations of people, and we don't want to landlock that pollution where we are. We have salmon streams around us. We're constantly surrounded by moose and bear. So we actually utilize several e-waste recycling groups that in Anchorage that will actually physically ship all of our e-waste out for us down here to where it can be properly recycled.
So that's amazing, because it can often be an afterthought at times. And I think it's wonderful that you've integrated that within your IT just practices and support services for your organization. Looking forward, that's something at Lenovo we're also very considerate of as well. We actually have services like asset recovery and lifestyle extension, which actually helps reduce e-waste too, while we love learning about how others like you are helping to impact positively these environmental issues. But, for the leaders who aren't necessarily sure about how to start considering sustainability within their practices, what advice would you give, or insight could you provide to them?
Understand your product, know what your life cycles look like, and then have a conscious effort of disposal. Either sending it back to the manufacturer if they'll do it for you, or finding a center around you that will for a nominal charge, take it off your hands and responsibly dispose of it. We run into a lot of issues up there where people irresponsibly dump, and it's not healthy for anybody, and it mars the gorgeousness of Alaska. So a lot of IT shops up there, we're a fairly small community, know each other well. We actually talk about this a lot in making sure that everybody understands it's your responsibility to get rid of it well, and then create plans to do so for your life cycles.
On a positive note, let's think about in a world where sustainability is prioritized, what business positive outcomes could maybe be, reaped from prioritizing it within the strategy? Obviously, yes, it's amazing for the environment, and that's the number one concern. But maybe to convince others who are not so sure, like, what do you think the business positive outcomes could be of thinking in that way?
For us personally, when we are doing our recycling, we're taking it to a group that will help us actually destroy our data sets properly. So hard drives, both platter and silicone, are being destroyed properly. So we know that our data management, we're not going to end up with data sprawl or loss. So that alone is a service they provide that is indispensable for us. So we can still get rid of our silicone responsibly and the PCBs they're on, but we also know that it's been destroyed properly.
Well, data is huge. I mean, it's the number one concern for any IT professional in the tech space because that's the brain of your business.
Yep.
And you wouldn't just just like you wouldn't throw away your social security card in a trash can,
Right.
right? You'd shred it, for example. I
Yep.
mean, you would never really do that. But you know what I mean? You wouldn't want to throw away the brain of your business in just like a trash can, right?
Correct.
So that's a really great business parallel to, yeah, of course we're helping the environment. That's amazing, but also don't do this other nonsensical thing, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. Talk to me more about, how you educate your team on this importance of sustainability. Or is there anything you're passionate about and doing within the tech space to keep this conversation going and make that impact?
Yeah, due to just the stunning nature that is Alaska, the amount of wildlife we're surrounded by, and the generations that are coming up behind us. Again, I work for Native Corporation. We're very generationally focused. To remember that we're, setting them up for their future also means that we need to take care of the world around us in a responsible manner. So that's the conversation we have because we are a family corporation. We are dealing with the children yet to come is, hey, let's leave this place better than we found it.
What do you think the future of work looks like, even from this lens? Like, if done right, if done well, what could we achieve? We call it Work Reborn.
I think that our electronic site recycling has a ways to go, but I also think that if they continue to refine that process, that we could pull more and more and more of our valuable metals out and re-implement those into the new technologies that are coming out rather than just having to go get raw material all over the place. That
What are you most passionate about in your daily work and what you get to do and how you get to impact, especially in such a beautiful place like Alaska?
that comes back to the corporation that I work for. To flesh out what I was saying earlier, the Alaska Native corporations were founded by the federal government back in the 1970s to help the Alaska Native people have a better start than they did for the American Plains Indians. The only thing they could think of was to turn us into corporations. So they incorporated us. We had no idea what we were doing. They created 12 ANCs, Alaska Native Corporations, and they separated it by region. I happen to work in the Aleutian region. Think Deadliest Catch, the chain of islands that run out toward
Yeah.
Russia. That's the region that my family comes from. We're called Aleuts. My mother's a full-blood Aleut. My grandfather was the last chief of Akitan, and he was one of the original shareholders, and so is my mother. When he passed, I inherited his shares. What that means for us is that all of our profit, everything that we do is geared toward the success of our people. We're not putting more money in Wall Street so someone else can buy a Lamborghini. We're literally putting food on their tables. We're putting fuel in their tanks. We're helping them live the subsistence lifestyles that they want to. We also offer education through grants and scholarships. We also have a ton of internship programs so that we can help the children coming from these very small communities in very rural Alaska assimilate into where the future is going with technology, creating business connections, getting education so they're more prepared to engage with the world around them.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your valuable insight. We are committed as a company at Lenovo to putting a priority on sustainability when it comes to the innovation and the progress of technology moving forward. And we really appreciate your time today, Shaun. If anyone is listening to this podcast and you're interested in learning more about the Work Reborn report, make sure you download it in the link below. And if you are watching us on YouTube, QR code's over here. Make sure you scan it and grab your copy. And this has been Work Reborn. Thank you so much, Shaun.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us live in Orlando for this amazing episode of Work Reborn. I've been your host, Rita Risha, and it's been a pleasure to bring you insightful conversations from around the world, especially at this event, on how we are bringing new life to the modern workplace. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to stay tuned on more ways that we are doing just that, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe our channel, and download a copy of the Work Reborn report today.